So I'm Rosalyn McIntosh, right? And I'm here due to the amazing Suzanne. Everybody's talking about Suzanne. The connection is Suzanne. I came on your platform to hear Suzanne a couple of several weeks back, to hear her, to support her, and you amazing women invited me to come here. How I got here and how I made a connection with Suzanne and a whole bunch of other amazing people. Well, today, you know, I'm a coach, I'm an author, I'm a number of things. You know, I have a nonprofit called Sisters Building Sisters in Brooklyn. I'm a mentor, I'm a pastor, a whole host of things. Those are titles though. But what I really do is I help hurting women and girls, but now my primary focus is focusing on helping women, you know, helping women helping them get through and get release from their traumatic past experiences as a coach. So, but it didn't always start this way. You know, I didn't, of course, none of us started this way. But so a little history about me, I can go back and just say it really began when I was, well, from the beginning. I was always told that I lost my mother. It's 7 of us. I'm the 7th child, and I lost my mother to my father, her abuser, and they stayed together from the age of 15 years old to she died at 26. And they said my father just beat her from room to room through each pregnancy and everything. And then when she died in 1970, all 7 of us, I was 5 months old. I never had the pleasure of meeting her. They thought enough of me. Who would have ever thought? But they thought enough of me. They couldn't even name me. There was so much stuff going on. So they named me Rosalyn McIntosh. And my mother's name is Rosalyn McIntosh. And it was Rosalyn McIntosh. So 7 of us immediately was taken away from my father, and we went to live with my grandparents. And they raised us. They did the best that they could in the situation that they had. But every day of my life, they shared the stories. My siblings and my grandparents and my relatives, they all shared the story of how much of a villain my father was. They didn't really talk much about my mother, other than the fact that Roz was abused. She couldn't get away from him. You know, she was isolated. He took her away from all of us. So long story short, my grandfather died. I had this a beautiful, amazing life. My grandfather was amazing. Like, oh my goodness, my life was full of sunshine. And he died when I was 10 years old. I was in a gifted program. I was, you know, running around like a typical child playing, you know, hopscotch, jump rope, you name it. And I was in a gifted program. And I remember the day being real bright and sunny. And I came home from school. It was, you know, it was after school because I was coming from the gifted program in Manhattan, performing arts. And I came home at 10 years old, and I'm walking in the house, and I go to wash my hands, and I said to myself, oh, I'm gonna eat a little snack. I'm gonna do my homework. Who would have ever thought, like literally within a week of my grandfather passing at 10 years old, my whole world would suddenly change. So, I walked in the kitchen, bathroom, washed my hands. I walked in the kitchen. We had 2 refrigerators because we were 7 children in the household. And I went to, go to open my refrigerator, and both of our refrigerators were padlocked. We couldn't open them. So I knew immediately that my world had changed. So I walked into the living room and sat down with my siblings, with 2 of my siblings and my cousins that were in the living room. 10 years old. The next thing you know, an adult, a relative, comes in the living room and walks over to me. I don't know why or what's the reason. And he just snatched me by my ponytail and takes me from the wooden chair that I was sitting in and slung me across the room and threw me on the couch. And I knew from that very moment that I lost my power, that I lost my voice, and that my world would never be the same. And I just remember just lifting up my hands and saying, God, at 10 years old, over and over, like, God, if you ever let me grow up. Long story short, I became suicidal for a number of years. My world, I didn't trust anyone and I didn't trust anything. And 8 years later, in this dark hole, somehow I had a baby, and she just changed the trajectory of my life. And I began to do, I got involved in a church, and then I got involved in the community, and I just started, helping women. I saw people coming to me for advice and different things, and I just began to help women and girls, and I got involved, and I just started helping on so many different levels. Long story short, I'm a coach. I love what I do today. I'm a voice for the people. I'm a voice for women, So I'm here today to talk about, are we using our voice or are we losing our voice? And I am a voice, and I'm a voice, and at times I'm a voice, I'm a vessel to be a voice, right? So at times I show up as a voice, and sometimes there are times when I have no voice. So what type of voice are we talking about tonight? The type of voice that we're talking about, that I'm sharing about, that we're going to talk about, is the voice where we speak. That type of voice where we speak, where we share, where we make a difference, where we're powerful. We're human beings, but we're a voice, we're a vessel, we're an instrument, more so. That's the type of voice that I would like to talk about tonight. So being a voice, it can be a little fickle at times, it can vary, especially depending on our circumstance and our situation, and even our environment. And even our past has a lot to do with our voice. And what do I mean by that? Voice. Here I said at 10 years old, I lost my voice. And I lost my voice for a number of years, for 8 years. And then I could even say further on. And even today, people see people, but they don't really know them, because even today, sometimes it gets fickle for me. Sometimes I can speak and I can have that strong voice and the energy and power that comes with that voice. And then other times I shy away. I wonder, am I worthy enough to speak? Because then there's another voice. It's a whole bunch of voices, right? It's about voice tonight. And then there's that voice that, we have a healthy voice, that inner healthy voice that comes to say, you can do it. You can be a voice. You can speak up for yourself. You can speak up for others. And then there's this other voice, that comes to say, how dare you? Who do you think you are? You're nothing. You're nobody. How dare you? You're not supposed to be a voice. How can you be? How dare you? The audacity of you. And sometimes it depends on which voice you listen to, or we listen to, we can be that force to reckon with, or we can cower back, and we can fall back into insecurity, into low self-esteem, into doubt, into disbelief. A voice doesn't really have, we get to choose. We get to say today, is it going to be a voice of, courage? We can take that and put that sign on the front of our forehead or on our chest, or we can, get up and speak each day and say, I'm going to be that voice. We have a choice every given moment. Are we going to use our voice? Are we going to lose our voice? And some days, and it's okay if we choose to say, if we have moments where we're like, I'm not going to use my voice. It's not a bad thing, because even in, meditating on what to share tonight, sometimes it's okay not to use our voice. Maybe it's not the time for us to use our voice, and maybe it's the time for somebody else to use their voice. Maybe it's that time to be still and let somebody else say, I matter. I exist. I'm here. I'm not my past. I'm not what happened to me. But I'm great. I'm enough. I'm wonderful. I'm wonderfully made. But I can say, for all of us, we are a voice. If we're here and we can speak, we are a voice. And no matter what, inner voice try to speak to us, whenever that negative voice try to speak to us, we can shut it down. That negative chatter, we can shut it down. And we can use tools and we can talk back to that voice, because we have the power within our voice. Even when we don't speak, there's still power resonating in us from our inner voice. And we could shut down, that nuisance that says that we can't speak. Because guess what? Every day that we live and we breathe, we are a force to reckon with, and we are a voice. And we are a voice for ourselves, and we are a voice, guess what? We are a voice for each other. We are a voice we're an extended voice. There's power in our voice. There's power in the unity of us speaking together, and it could be to speak up for, against domestic violence, to bring awareness to domestic, to domestic violence, or it could just simply be to just speak up or to sing. To sing what? Sing an amazing song. It may be a song that nobody else can get. Nobody else can dance to that rhythm but us. But we have the power and we have the choice. Even though life shows up and has showed up for us all differently and in different ways. And we all unique, and we all have a unique and a different story. We all have the power of the voice. And it's an honor and it's a privilege to be able to be on the line with so many women that have a voice, because I heard most of you tonight speak. We were able to greet one another. So that means it's a privilege and it's powerful to have a voice. And sometimes we may see it as something small, but it's something major. It's something powerful. It's a blessing. It's grace. We don't even really deserve it, but we get it. But we're blessed with it. There are so many people that cannot speak today. And they dream and they have nightmares because we speak and they can't speak. And my heart and my energy goes out for them. But that should make us stand up, stand taller, and speak. Even when we get a rumble in our belly that tells us, in our stomach that tells us, we're so nervous. We're so nervous. We can't do it. We can do it. We have to do it. Every opportunity, every platform, every moment, we have to. I hated my mother all my life on so many different notes and on so many different reasons. But the main reason that I hated her, because they never took us to counseling. And all they did was talk about what my father did to her and how she's not here anymore. And so it made me, I didn't know her. I didn't know what she smelled like. And every year, in our family, on Memorial Day, we would go to the burial ground to put flowers on her grave. Everybody would get these big baskets of food, fried chicken, potato salad, all of these collard greens, all of these soul food dishes that, African-American people generally eat. And I remember them getting the red and white, tablecloth to lay on the ground and put the beautiful wooden basket and stuff on the ground every year. And everybody would go, all the cousins. I had 6 cousins that was my age. We were all born in the same year, 1970. And every year, until I was 10 years old, we went on Memorial Day to go visit all the family members that was deceased. And my mother was deceased. And my siblings, they were older than me. But all the children, we would play, we would jump rope, and we would do everything until it was time to go visit all the deceased people. And I remember I would wait and I would let everybody go and do whatever. And it was 2 things that I remembered. And the 2 things I remember, they would say, it's time to eat at a certain time. It's time to eat. And everybody would run and go sit down and go get the fried chicken and everything. And that was such a sad moment for me and at that time, I didn't have a voice because children weren't supposed to speak. They were just supposed to, be quiet and listen. And so I didn't have a voice then, because if I had a voice, then the adults would have said, we got to get you some counseling. We have to get you and your siblings some counseling. You're grieving, you're hurting. And I never I used to get sad because all the kids they had their mother and their father, and they would go sit down, on the green grass and eat together and laugh together. But me and my siblings, we didn't have a mother there and we didn't have a father there. And then the second thing that I really despised was I would just, no matter what, a few minutes before they would say, it's time for us to pack up, we're leaving, because it was in New Jersey and we lived in New York. And I would go over to my mother's grave. They would find her grave and they would clean it and wash it up and pull off the weeds and everything. And then they would say, okay, you can have some time with your mother. And I would literally lay my face on, on the tombstone or whatever you call it. And I would lay my face there and it would say Rosalyn McIntosh and the year she was born and the year she died. And everybody would go away and I would just cry and say, why did you have to leave me? Why did you have to leave me? Nobody told me. They just told me your mother died. Your father beat your mother to death and she died at a very early age. And that was another thing that just quieted my voice. So on today, the same lady that I hated for years because I thought she just left me. And I thought that was the cruelest thing. But on today, I decided like 7 or 8 years ago, I went to a domestic violence walk with Milagro Stay Worldwide. And I remember telling my daughter, I was like, I'm going to walk over this bridge and I'm going to do it for my mother. And that day, even when my daughter left, I stayed in the atmosphere. It was so therapeutic for me. That day, I sat down and I started crying. And I was like, why are you crying? Why are you crying? You don't cry. There's a reason why you're crying. And I said, God, I need to know why I'm crying. And it was so profound for me. It was, you're going to speak. You're going to tell your story. You're going to help save somebody. You're going to be a voice. You're going to speak against domestic violence. And you're going to speak for your mother. And I said to my mother, I don't know if she could hear me or not, but I said, I'm going to be your voice. And I said, I'm proudly saying I'm Rosalyn McIntosh II. Nobody's put the second on there. I put the second on there. And I'm a voice for the people that can't speak, the people that won't speak, and even if it's the people that don't want to speak for a moment. I'm a voice. And I just wanted to share that. I didn't know I was going to share all of that, but I did. So wow. Let's thank you. Let's just kind of switch and kind of go into a dialogue. Let's talk. I know that was a bit much, but I just wanted to really get it out there that we, me, you, I, us, we are voices. We are voices. And at times, you know, we can use that voice or we can lose that voice. But we can, if we lose it, we can always come back and use it. And it's a privilege. So let's talk.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's an honor, I told you. And if everyone needs support, we are here because Rosalyn is amazing. And it's an honor to share your experience with us. But if it's, you know, this is our time, like Rosalyn said, we can speak. And this is the reason why we make the difference. We can talk, we can share, we can speak.
Rosalyn, wow, you had me going like in tears. I was crying inside. I have never heard that much of your story before, and it is so heartfelt and so inspiring. You just amaze me and inspire me even more to know that you grew up without a mother. You know, most people at least have that. And thank you for your transparency in all of the whole realm of feelings that you've explored around your mother dying. I mean, you were a baby, and of course you're going to feel badly about, you know, what happened, why did your father do that? And there's a lot of not understanding for even a child. And of course you're going to be angry with your mother because she's the one who left you. And why did she do that? How could she do that? And I think, you know, as when we work with people, we tend to look at the feelings of, okay, you know, what we went through and moving through things. But those feelings that you talked about are so very real. And that doesn't mean that you think less of your mother. It's that, you know, you were very honest about how raw those feelings were and how could she do that to you. And that's so very real for a child, you know, to have those feelings. And I also have, it's become known to me just recently about exploring the fact, as you know, most survivors of domestic violence are women. And exploring the fact that somewhere underneath all of that, you know, moving through the rage against our abuser and the fear and the chaos that we felt being around our abuser, there is also the guilt and the shame with our children, because why didn't we do better for our children? We should have done better for our children. How could we do that? And I just became aware of behaviors that I have because I had never addressed that. It just came to my awareness a few weeks ago. And I'm like, no wonder I keep doing this and trying trying to make amends and do so many things. It's because I'm full of guilt and shame about what happened to my children, that I let it happen. You know, so that's been something that I've been working through. So it's all of those feelings, and you know that there's no bad feelings and there's no judgment around feelings. And I applaud you for being so transparent and sharing that, because it's from a child's point of view. Though those are deep, deep foundational feelings, and even as an adult we still have that. So thank you for bringing that into our awareness, and so that we can experience it and move through it and eventually let it go.
I realized that when first I saw the title, using voice or losing voice, I just assumed it could be about just speak up, be assertive. People say that, so I'm like, okay, that could be it. But it's much more than that. Since Rosalyn didn't show the face cover, so I'm just showing. I read this book. This is authored by Rosalyn and Suzanne and others, and it's about domestic violence. And then I was just getting ready for today's session. And naturally, I picked up that book and then read the Rosalyn's chapter. I wanted to know a little bit more in the preparation. I had an idea what's coming, because she did talk about her childhood, how mother died and the father was an abuser. But, you didn't have that precursor. So I think you guys are more shocked. As a child, if you are grown up in a household where the rule is really upside down from other world, you don't know what to do. So I'm really awed by Rosalyn's resilience. She had a tough time in childhood, lost that voice, but here she is. I myself compare a little bit. I grew up much more in loving household, not perfect, but even I felt that my voice was not counted as a child. So like childhood voice is very tricky thing, because parents are so much more powerful and you have to listen to them, and then your default line is not to speak for yourself. Then you get tangled into the abusive relationship, and then you don't know what to think. So your story today was so much more than I was expecting initially, and then made me really think, and then what do I do for my child, like Suzanne said and Rosalyn said. Yeah, it's really profound. Thank you again.
Rosalyn, to your story tonight, I say that our Creator above gives everybody certain skills and certain gifts. So that, in this world, some are good at being a plumber, some people are good at being a teacher. And your gift, I believe, Rosalyn, you are sort of like a messenger, and you have the courage, and you're ingrained in yourself to share your story with other women, helping us heal, helping us see that we're not alone.
Thank you for sharing.
I just want to say, well, Rosalyn, you're incredible, and I'm so sorry you went through what you did, but you are challenging your energy and helping other women. And this is my first time here, and it's not going to be the last one. And thank you, Suzanne, for introducing me to the group. Finally, I made it. And I just want to say you're all amazing women. And I got back to Rosalyn. It was wonderful not hearing what happened to you, but the fact that you are voicing it out to us, because a lot of times we don't know when to say it, who to say it to, or we over speak, but you are empowering us to feel like we have a voice, and if we need to let out what we've been through, then so be it. We have that right to do so, and I appreciate it. I appreciate all of you for being here. And again, Suzanne, thank you for the introduction. And this won't be my last time here.
Thank you, Rosalind. Yeah, definitely the Spirit was moving and speaking to me because it is quite common that we do have that voice that says, you know, who are you to open up your mouth? I will speak often. Response will be like, you're talking, what? And then I start to feel ashamed, but then I realize, well, they're thinking that way because maybe when they, at some point in their lives, they were told, what, you're talking? You know, why are you talking? So it's like a disease. But what the main thing that happened to me today when Rosalind was speaking was God was saying, you know, don't be shy, be bold, use your voice. And just seeing Rosalind's boldness, it's beautiful. You know, I tend to be a little, you know, kind of, how do I describe it? Just meek and mild, but sometimes, no, it's best to stand up and be bold. And, you know,
Exactly.
when something needs to be said, and so often things need to be said because it's in our mind, the battle is in the mind, right? So you never know if a certain word that's going to come through, it's going to be exactly, it's going to minister to the person who is listening. And it could make a huge difference when we speak from our hearts, you know, in other words, when we're guided, as we understand it in the Bible, guided by the Holy Spirit, when we're guided to speak up and say something, don't logic it and reason it away saying, you know, oh, who are you to talk? No, just say it and be unapologetic, you know, in other words, just say it, you know, and that might make all the difference. That will, it can, and it does make all the difference in the world to help people, because we're all suffering in one way or another, sadly. But, you know, so that we all need each other to speak up. And when we're inspired, and we speak, then we will be an inspiration to someone who is listening. And never forget that. Yeah. That's what I wanted to say. So that was the main message that came through for me. It was a message. It was a direct message. Rosalind was the vessel, and the message came through, and it was at a perfect time too. So thank you. Thank you for letting yourself be used by God. Yeah. To speak.
I truly thank you, ladies, and I thank God for that, because you wouldn't even believe if you saw me and you saw me bold and you saw me in my, you know, in my fierceness or whatever. You know, like literally this morning, I was looking in the mirror and I was like so nervous, right? It's, well, you know, we just naturally have some kind of nerves and nervousness, or I tend to, when every time, you know, but I happened to look at myself in the mirror today, and I'm 50. I'm 50 years old. Today is not my birthday, but I'm just saying I'm 50. And I was 10 years old, and I wasn't the only one. My mother's 7 children. I just happened to be the baby child. But out of the 7 children, I saw my siblings being abused, some emotionally, some physically, some, you know, some sexually, just all. It was like we had no voice. We had no, especially when my grandfather died. We had no covering. We had no protection. There was nothing but God. And to be a 10-year-old child and to literally just, you know, like scream out and just look up, you know, I didn't even know. I was doing what I saw the adults around me do. You know, talk to this, you know, mysterious creature, you know, or supreme being. And I remember just saying, like, God, if you ever let me grow up, I'm going to help women and girls, and I'm going to help my siblings. And today, the reflection in the mirror, I looked in the mirror and I was so nervous. And then I said, God, you let me grow up, and I'm doing what? I'm helping women and girls. I'm helping hurting women, you know? And I was like, I love it. I love it. I love it. So, you know, there's this book that I had years ago, and it said, when your mess becomes your message. All of the stuff that we experienced If we're here today, it's our message for us to be a vehicle, to be a voice for healing, whatever we can be. And I just have a yes, and I'm available, you know, to the God that I serve. I'm a born again Christian. And I thank you ladies for this space. And however, you know, I could help, I'm available to help and to be a part of. And I thank you for, you know, coming on the line and being open and, you know, and listening and truly receiving what, you know, what I got for you to hear tonight. And I thank you, because we are forces to reckon with. We are a voice. And guess what? We're a voice united too, not just individually, collectively. We are a voice, and we are a strong voice collectively, because we strengthen one another. I like to say teamwork makes the dream work, and iron sharpens the iron. So I just leave you ladies with that tonight, and because I want to come back again. And this is
Yes.
amazing.
Yes.
Thank you
thank
so
you very
much. Just one thing, that's why, you know, I'm agree with Rosalyn. We are Women for Success is a teamwork. The platform is open for everybody, and that's why it's the reason to Women for Success exists. Make the actions and to make the difference. If we are work together, we can make a huge difference. And thank you so much.